As I was saying, good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Town Board of the Town of Ossining regular meeting and work session for Tuesday, July 28th, 2020. Please rise and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance, and please remain standing while we observe a moment of silence for longtime Councilman Jeffrey Harder. I pledge allegiance to the
United States of America
and
to the republic
for
for which it stands,
one nation,
nation,
under
under
God,
God,
visible,
with
liberty,
liberty
and
and
justice.
justice for all.
Now, a moment of silence, please. Thank you. Last week, we found out the sad news that Jeffrey Harder had passed. Jeff served on the town council for 24 years and was a recreation advisory board member, and then he served for many years as the town liaison to the recreation board. Jeff was a dedicated public servant, always looking for opportunities to better serve his constituents and his fellow man and woman. Jeff also served in the U.S. Air Force, from which he was honorably discharged. He was also the Dean of Students at Pace University Pleasantville campus and the Director of Housing at Pace's New York City campus for a total of 33 years working at Pace. He was an avid coach for his own children and grandchildren, and he continued to go to every one of their games until he was no longer able. We extend our deepest condolences to Jeff, his wife Susie, his children and grandchildren. I had received a few nice words from some people that I thought I would share, but I have somehow not managed to find them again. As soon as I do, I will try to share those with everybody, and we'll let you know. So this evening, we are going to begin our meeting with a few work session items before we get into our regular meeting resolutions. And first up, we have some visitors from Ecogy Energy, Brock Gibeon and Julia Maglioso from a follow-up presentation on their proposal for a canopy solar system at 75 Ryder Road or the Maryknoll Fathers and Brothers property. Brock and Julia were here a few months back, and there were a few outstanding items that the board wanted to review before referring this application to the planning board. These items are now complete. We have our town planner, Valerie Monastra, here tonight, and I would like to ask her to walk us through some of those items to lead our discussion. Valerie, hello, and welcome back.
Great, thank you. All right, so I'll just refresh the board as to what has taken place since they were before the board, which was at the May 5th work session. So after the work session where they presented their project, the board had a few comments and questions that they raised, and they wanted additional information from Ecogy. The first dealt with that the board wanted the applicant to confirm that the heights proposed for the canopy would provide adequate clearance and maneuverability for the Ossining Fire Department vehicles. And Ecogy did a little research, and the Ossining Fire Department vehicles would extend a height of 13 feet 6 inches, and the ladder trucks and other vehicles would have sufficient space to maneuver through the lot because the canopy itself, minimum would be 17 feet 8 inches. In addition, the town board also requested photographs of the solar canopy systems in similar locations, and the applicant also provided additional examples of solar projects in Lyndhurst, New Jersey. The town board also requested a site visit, and that site visit was conducted on June 12th at the Maryknoll site. The board also wanted confirmation that the proposed carports would not be visible from the public road, and we could, based on the site visit as well as information provided to from the applicant, that the canopies would be approximately 292 feet from the public road. It was concluded that there would be no visual impacts by the installation of the solar canopies. So the last item that was remaining was really dealing with the bulk requirements of the zoning code, and the town board asked that the building inspector do a zoning analysis for two reasons. One, it looked like the applicant thought that they were going to need a zoning variance for one of the setbacks in relation to the code. The code requires a 100-foot setback from all property lines associated with the ground mount systems. And then the second was a zoning text amendment that the applicant was proposing, because right now the current code has a height limitation of 15 feet for tier 3 systems. And they're looking to increase that to 25 feet because the extent of the canopy will be at maximum 21 feet and 11 inches. So John Hamilton took a look at both, did a zoning analysis and came to the conclusion that they do meet the zoning. They do not need a zoning variance because of the fact that he is interpreting the canopy system, not necessarily a ground mount system. So because of that, the setback does not apply. But the applicant still will need a zoning amendment associated with the height of the canopies, which they're still requesting a 25-foot 25-foot height limitation for canopies. And the zoning code itself would be written to include that height, that height extension for canopy systems only, but ground mount systems would still be at 15 feet heights.
All right.
And that's where we are.
All right. I forgot my headphones. I have a fan going, so I thought maybe headphones would be helpful.
One note, though, that the town board might want to consider, instead of 25 feet, you might want to consider reducing the height to 22 feet or 23 feet because they only need 21 feet 11 inches. And in consultation with other communities, some have had canopy systems that were no more than 20 feet. So I think 25 feet might be more than what was required. However, the board could also consider 25 feet just in case those canopy systems do increase in height over the years.
Can you hear me? Do they grow?
No, but I mean, depending on the systems, I mean, these systems are constantly evolving. So,
I'm just thinking,
if we say it's 21 feet 11 inches now,
either that or just like the ground is dropping. Okay, so I mean, I don't know that. I mean, in the context of that particular property, 25 feet is probably not a problem. I don't know if it would be elsewhere. So the zoning text amendment, just to clarify, would that apply? That would apply to any property, any solar canopy system?
Canopy system, that's correct.
I mean, maybe we could hear a little bit from our solar developers about that, just so we could get a sense of, the height now and why it might or might not be safe to do it higher than that. And, obviously, I guess it's less fabrication of expensive materials to make it higher if they have it lower. But again, maybe Brock or Julia, you guys could comment a little bit. I can't actually see you. Okay, I got to put you on gallery view so I can find everybody. Okay, do you want to comment on that? Either Brock or Julia? You guys are muted.
Yeah, Julia, I think Julia's trying to talk. Maybe she needs to be unmuted.
Looks like she's unmuted, but we can't hear you.
Hey, Julia,
phone her, so hopefully we'll hear. Julia, is that you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Hear me, right? Yeah, apologies. I did have to call in on my phone to get the audio. But yes, this is Julia Magliozzo. I'm here representing Ecogy. And yes, to first just thank you for, having us again. I know we were added a bit last minute to the agenda here, so we really appreciate the flexibility and are happy to be, in front of the town board again. You've always been very receptive to us and very supportive of our project, so happy to be here, representing Ecogy in this project. So just to address the comments about why we proposed 25 feet, it actually goes back to the definition that was added into the solar code, the table 3 that sets out the height requirements. It defines the height of the system to be measured from the highest natural grade below each solar panel. And the sort of trick there with the canopy system is having them cantilevered over one foundation point. If the ground is sloped slightly downward or upward in one direction from that cantilever point, they might not be exactly 21 feet 11 inches on the high end. You might be closer to 22, maybe 22 and a half feet. And that's for this particular site where there are not slopes that are so extreme above or below the canopies. So we had suggested the 25 feet in light of the fact that it would be an amendment to the solar code writ large, and in a different site with a different gradient of the ground, you might be within that sort of leeway of, 22, 23 feet. So we thought the 25 feet was most reasonable to allow, development of other canopy structures in Ossining. Of course, we would be understanding if 25 feet seems too tall for this particular project, but it was thinking more generally of a site with different conditions.
Okay. Does the board have any questions about the 25 feet? I don't know, Valerie, do you want to talk any more about what it sounded to me like you were leaning towards recommending that the 25 feet would be safer for that?
Well, I think it's really up to the board. I wanted to bring to the board's attention that, they're looking at maybe 22 feet for their maximum height. You could consider 25 feet. Like I said, I've spoken to other communities. A number of their canopies are around 20 feet. So again, it really is up to the board. If you want to allow for that wiggle room, then I would say go with 25 feet. If you want it closer to what Ecogy is requesting, then I would say consider something like 23 feet.
Can I
Yes.
just chime in really quickly? We are very early on in the process here, like very, very early on.
Okay.
You're nowhere near having to make a decision right now. I understand having the dialogue, and I'm not trying to stop it. I just remind the board of this. This is only the very initial presentation. They're going to planning board. They're going to have to do secret. They're going to have to look at the height. They're going to have to look at those issues.
Okay.
They come back to this board for consideration of the application to the flow zone, as well as any sort of zoning text amendments the board may be inclined to grant. So just when you're having this discussion, just have that in your mind also.
Yes, thank you, Christy.
My question is, can it be from, each individual canopy point from the ground to the top where it would only be 21 and a half, or is the way we measure it the problem?
Well, I think right now, the way we measure it, I don't know if it's necessarily a problem, but that, that's the way it's measured in the code. We can take a look at that. If we're looking at this amendment, we can take a look at, the way it's being defined, and I can speak to John Hamilton about it and see if he has any other suggestions of maybe some of the way to measure it. Because it's really going to be, it's a very simple adjustment to the code, and we can take a look at it to see if there's something that makes a little bit more sense.
Okay, I'd love to hear that. Thank you.
And again, Council Donna, I was going to ask you to chime in next to just make sure that if that's even something that we did need to be talking about tonight, and apparently it isn't. So,
well, you're certainly welcome to discuss it. It's something that is going to be before this board at some point in time in the future, assuming the board does, send it to the planning board for secret. So you're certainly able to discuss it. I just, it seemed like we were going down the path of what are we going to decide, or are we going to make a decision like you're near that?
Correct. Okay. So right now our focus is on if we think that this is a viable place for a floating zone for the solar canopy project as presented and as the proposal is before the town board. Correct. And then the next step, as you mentioned, would be for us to send it over to the planning board if we believe that it is viable, and then it would have to go through all the rest of the studies.
Right. Yeah. You're not making a decision on anything tonight.
Right. No, I understand, but that's what we're discussing so that we can arrive at that decision. That's
Correct.
The decision we're looking to arrive at.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Okay. So just again, back to the town board, I would really ask that you, if you have any questions about this project at this point, because I do believe that we have now gotten all of our questions answered in terms of if we want to send this to the planning board. Again, that's not on our agenda for tonight, but if we were all reach consensus tonight, we could have it on, put it on the board, on the agenda for the next meeting. No?
I don't think you really need a formal resolution for this.
Okay.
You're not doing anything.
Okay.
You're just kind of discussing it amongst yourselves and coming to a consensus about, is this a zoning text amendment? Is this a zone change in having the floating zone apply to this property? Is this something the board wants to entertain and wants to see go forward?
Right.
If the general consensus is yes or maybe, or, let's see what comes out of SECRA, then that's just a consensus, and then they can make their application to the planning.
Okay. Okay, so let's go around and just ask any of the town board members again if anybody has any specific questions for the developers. Councilwoman Feldman, you already asked a question. Councilwoman Shaw, do you have any questions?
No.
Okay, and so while I go, okay, let's just go through the questions. Councilman Meyer, do you have any questions?
No, I don't. Thank you.
Councilman Wiltshire, do you have any questions?
No.
Councilwoman Feldman, do you have any additional questions?
Nope, I'm good.
Okay, and now I'm going to go around again and ask if we are in favor of having this move to the next step. If we could just reach consensus, since we aren't needing to take a formal vote at this time. So I'm just going to go around again. Again, Deputy Supervisor Shaw.
I'm interested in seeing it go forward.
Okay, Councilman Wiltshire.
Yeah, I don't think I know enough at this point to say one way or the other.
So the next step would be for it to move forward. Again, this is a canopy system at Maryknoll.
Yeah, well, I think we should go ahead with it, whatever.
So the next step would be for it to go to the planning board, and the planning board would have to go through a full scale review before anything were to happen with it. If the town board finds that, basically we're in favor of it moving forward to that next step. That's what we're trying to decide.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. All
Okay.
right. Councilwoman Feldman
I'm in favor of it going forward.
and Councilman Meyer.
I'm in favor as well.
Okay, as am I. So I think that we don't have a whole heck of a lot of questions. I guess I'll just ask Ikoji if you have anything else that you wanted to say based on any of the additional work that you did. Even though we've obviously reached consensus on moving forward with this, which I'm actually personally pretty excited about because I think it's a great project. I'd love to hear if you have anything additional to say, and then Valerie, if you wanted to wrap up, or Christy. So go ahead, Brock or Julia. Either one of you want to say anything?
This is Brock speaking from Ikoji. Yeah, I just wanted to echo Julia's comments. I really appreciate the town board visiting Maryknoll and taking into consideration the looks of the canopies from our other sites. We're truly excited about the project, and I think, Maryknoll is extremely excited along with us. They have been, awaiting, approvals for this project and are truly excited to do their part for sustainability in addition. They did win a big Green Business Partnership Award last year and for their water efforts. So they're looking forward to trying to take another trophy home to the town of Ossining for their energy. So
And just to remind everybody, this is a community solar project, so there would be an opportunity for the community members to benefit from it too if they wanted to basically, I'm going to say quote unquote, invest or take a portion of this. It would go to reducing their electricity bills by 10%, correct?
That's correct. Yeah. So it's no termination fees, no cost to sign up. The average subscriber will be subscribing to around 1 to 2% of this array, and we guarantee a 10% discount. So bill credits are applied to their electric bill. We charge them for 90% of every dollar that we put on their electric bill, and that way there's no underwater. There's only savings to come, and it really is helpful because it helps apartment dwellers, folks that don't want to put solar on their house because they might have to cut down a tree, and a lot of low-income folks. So we're really truly excited to try and subscribe all Ossining residents to the system and really help the community in the process.
And the other thing is that even if, you know, we talked recently about our community choice aggregation program through Westchester Power, even if you are a subscriber through Westchester Power, or I believe even if you are a subscriber through another ESCO, you can still, in addition, get that 10% reduction benefit if you become a subscriber to the community solar project. Not if you have solar panels on your house, though.
That's correct.
You cannot do it if you have your own solar panels. So anyway, that's the good news. And Julia, you're good? We're all set? Okay. Yeah?
Yes, I am. Yeah, thank you for having us again this evening.
Okay, great. Valerie or Council Donna, anybody else want to say anything?
No, I think it's ready for the planning board.
All right, forward march, let's go. Thank you so much, everybody. We appreciate it. Thanks to the town board. I think that, you know, the other thing that's very exciting about this project is not a whole heck of a lot of trees have to come down. This is going over an already existing impervious surface. Ultimately, it's going to actually benefit not only Maryknoll, but the community. And one of the other things that, you know, that we like about it is that we think it's also going to benefit people who park. I think you also are considering, I can't remember if you're considering any storage on site. I feel like we talked a little bit about that when we went out. No storage on site, but possibly there can be a charging station maybe worked into.
Yes, we are absolutely looking at EV charging stations.
Okay, wonderful.
So super excited about that. No battery storage though.
Okay, fantastic. So as I said, for March, let's go to the planning board. And thank you again. Look forward to it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, so next up, we have Valerie here tonight for more than one purpose, and we're continuing our conversation regarding how we can support our local businesses in the medium term to cope with the restrictions associated with COVID. As we discussed at our last meeting, we have been allowing restaurants and eating establishments to operate outdoor dining via an emergency order, which needs to be renewed every 5 days. We now know that this situation is not going to resolve itself anytime within the next 5 days or the next. So we believe a longer term solution is needed. But at the same time, we are mindful of all the hard work that goes into the planning of projects. With that said, we are proposing an interim solution in the form of a draft local law for temporary outdoor dining permits, which will hopefully help us to protect our businesses, our specifically eating establishments, and to also put limits on that to make sure that we understand that this is a short-term solution for a problem that is beyond everybody's control, but a way that we can hopefully help save our businesses. So with that, Valerie, I think, or Christy, I don't know, one of you want to please walk us through the proposed legislation?
I would say let's start with Christy. She's the one who really drafted the law, although it was a collaborative effort with John Hamilton, myself, and Christy.
Okay, wonderful. So in that case.
All yours.
Yes, that is correct. After the last work session, the town board directed us to go forward. So Valerie, John, and I spoke, and we kind of threw around some concepts. This is a preliminary draft, right? So this is just, excuse me, to get something written down so that the board can kind of look at it, see what they think, what's missing, what you want changed, what you may want to tweak. So that's really where we are right now. We're still very preliminary. It's just easier to talk about something that's concrete instead of something that's just theoretical. So a couple of the main points of the law as currently drafted. In the zoning code, there's the uses of eating and drinking establishments and also fully enclosed eating and drinking establishments. And so the concept is that for those uses that are legally existing today, if there were to become a circumstance such as COVID-19, where it would be a risk to the health, safety, and welfare of the establishment to use their entire indoor occupancy capacity, then if they can demonstrate that to the building inspector, they can go to the building department and request a temporary outdoor dining permit to move some of that capacity outside. So the way it's currently drafted, and this is important to note too, and this is something that came up in discussions between Valerie, John, and myself, it doesn't just apply to COVID-19. So it applies, it can apply if the board wants to go that route. If there's a fire, if you have any sort of like problem or issue that arises in your indoor establishment that prevents you from being able to use all of that capacity, it authorizes the building inspector under appropriate circumstances to grant a permit so that you can move some of it outside, only on private property, nothing on sidewalks or anything like that. And you have to make certain findings to the satisfaction of the building inspector. So that's one way in which this is a little bit different than what we were currently discussing. And again, if the board doesn't want to go that route, but it gives it more of a general application. And once I started drafting it, I was trying to figure out ways that, maybe this could be it's a temporary permit, but a permanent provision in the code, basically. So the way it's currently drafted, you can get the permit for up to 30 days, and then you can get renewals of the permit. There's certain criteria that you have to be able to satisfy, including showing that you're legally operating, that you have a C of O or the like, that you're legal non-conforming, something like that, that there's a justifiable reason why you need to be outdoors, a plan showing how you're going to provide that outdoor dining and indoor dining. And importantly, you need to be able to show that your capacity is not going to exceed 100% of what the indoor capacity would have been, right? So the intention isn't to expand existing businesses beyond what they can already do. It's to maintain or allow close to a level of maintaining. And then if you're going to be doing it in a parking area, you need to be able to show adequate vehicular and pedestrian and safe access. And then any other information the building inspector deems appropriate. It does not waive the need to comply with any other areas of law, including the building and fire code and any executive orders that may be in effect. I think that's the first time I've ever written that into a draft law, but that's the reality of where we are right now. So the building inspector is the one that's authorized to issue these permits, and he is also authorized to revoke these permits, right, if people aren't complying with the conditions or if they haven't satisfied them. And I'm just seeing what else is here.
And you might want to touch upon the site plan approval.
No, yeah, I'm just going through the whole thing.
Oh, okay, sorry.
So then the last, so then after the building inspector's authority is 136.4. So the way it's drafted now, and this was just something that kind of came up and thought it might work, is that this is a temporary permit, right? It's only for 30 days at a time. If based upon circumstances, you want to get multiple permits consecutively or just multiple permits over a period of time, it does provide for that. However, the way this is drafted is if over an 18-month period, you've gotten more than 5 30-day temporary permits, then it's indicative of the fact that you may want this to be a permanent type use, in which case you would have to go back to the planning board or to the planning board to get site plan approval for this use, because then it's not really temporary anymore. And 5 is open to discussion if people thought more or less it was more what times of year are people going to be using outdoors. And so, you're not going to need an outdoor dining permit in February, March, or whatnot. And we also don't want this to become, like I said, an extension of indoor space. So no enclosed tents, no heaters, no anything like that. The intention is for it to be outdoors. And then the last one is penalties for offenses.
Did it say no heaters? I don't remember seeing that.
Excuse me?
Did it say no enclosed tents or heaters? I just didn't see that. I just might have missed it.
That's the intention. If it doesn't say that, or, that's kind of the way we were thinking about it. But I guess that's up to the board.
I'm not sure. Well, whatever. Keep going through. We'll discuss when you
The last one is damages. And excuse me, not damages, penalties, which was on the recommendation of the building inspector. that it is a fine not less than $100 nor more than $5,000 for an offense, or imprisonment for a period not to exceed 15 days, which doesn't really happen. But that's just pretty much standard language.
And then what about the site plan approval? Is
That was what I talked about, where
That's-
if you get more than 5 temporary permits
okay.
within a period of 18 months, then if you want to continue the use after that 18 months, you have to go get site plan approval.
Anymore. Got it. You have to go back to planning. Okay.
Yeah.
I would love to hear everybody's thoughts on this. I have some of my own, but let's go. Why don't we just go around and see if you have any thoughts, town council, about this? Because I mean, just at first blush, I think that you guys put forth a very thoughtful draft for us. To me, some of the, the main points that we might want to discuss would be the length of time for the permits, if the permits should cost any money, and also if how long that should extend for before somebody has to go to the planning board. And then the other question would be about things like heaters. I also just want to point out that as with our current executive order, there's nothing in it that says you get to extend your cabaret license outdoors. So the noise ordinance and all those sorts of things are still in place. You don't get to change any of that just because you're moving outdoors. So some of those things, those restrictions are still just for indoors. If you have music playing, it's only indoors. Is that right? Unless I am.
It doesn't modify any other provision of law. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So let's just go around to the council and just see if anybody has any questions. If you guys just want to speak up, if you do have questions, suggestions, thoughts on the matter, time-wise, etc. If you think that this is good, if you think it should be longer. I've found personally that 30 days goes by pretty quickly lately, in terms of the, like, for example, the public meeting, everybody, like as soon as the governor extends the public meeting law, all the mayors and supervisors are asking the question, is he going to extend it again? Like, we're almost there already and we need to know what to do. So I'm just wondering, in terms of planning, if you're a business, if it makes sense for it to be a little bit longer. And I'd love to hear from everybody about that.
I had a similar thought, actually, Dana. I was thinking more like a 45-day as opposed to a 30-day. And I think Christy, remind me, did you say 5 times over 18 months you could renew it? I think the 18 months part is a little long, but the 30 days might be a little short. Mm-hmm. So maybe 45 days over 45, 5
so
renewals.
You're thinking about periods of time, right? So
right.
5 times 45-day periods.
Yeah, because if we're thinking warmer weather, I'm thinking maybe like an April through October. So, and that would still be within 1 year, kind of thing. I'm like trying to do it in my brain, but
yeah,
I'm thinking more for maybe 4 times at 45 over a year, as opposed to 5 times over 30 days. I don't know.
That's about 6 months for.
Yeah. Right. 6.
I mean, and that's where I'm kind of like over a 6-month period is where I'm trying to get to.
Okay. Anybody else?
Yeah, I agree with the it being a little bit longer. I would even go to 60 days with it being revocable upon the conditions changing that they had, that had allowed them to obtain the permit, so that the building inspector could pull it at, should the emergency or situation be resolved. I'm okay with, 18 months doesn't seem that long. A year is fine. I'm not a problem with that. The thing I'd like to talk about would be the heating. Sometimes in the fall, they have those little heaters in the tent without the sides. That just kind of gives a little warmth. I'm not really opposed to that. I am opposed to sides on the tent. So, if there's a nearby little space heater or something that some of them have out on the patio sometimes, that doesn't bother me so much, you know, as long as it's within a fire code and all the other things that go with that. And John would have to speak to that. But having a little heater for those, you know, September, you know, chills in the evening, I'm not opposed to that.
Okay, yeah, I mean, Dana was correct. I was mixing up concepts between the emergency order that we do every 5 days and the local law. It doesn't actually, I don't believe, address specifically tents. So what I'll do is I will revise it, make reference to no enclosed tents, and then just be silent on the issue of heaters, if that's okay with the board.
I think that's good because then it leaves it open and John can decide, you know. I think the only thing I would ask is that, you know, somehow, I don't know where that would come, but that John would have the ability to make the decisions about those sorts of things, to make sure that they're,
We
you know.
use the very legal and precise, reasonable standard, which
Okay.
is really the best you can do.
Great.
And there is a permit process associated with this local law, so that's where some of those elements can work its way in.
Okay. The heating elements. Okay, perfect. Okay, and our other two councilmen, would you like to comment?
Yeah, I agree with Liz about the 60 days. That would be my preference. The longer the better, I think, so that they could properly plan.
And what about in terms of the length of time, 6 months, a year? You know, what do you think is reasonable before they have to go to the planning board for, you know?
I would say at least a year, my preference, but I'm more open on that, but I would like to see the initial 60 days as opposed to 30.
Okay. And Councilman Welcher, would you like to weigh in on these sorts of things?
No, I'm not I'm not going to weigh in on this one.
Okay, that's fine. Okay.
I'm having a little trouble hearing.
Okay, can you adjust your volume at all, or
No.
headphones?
That's what I'm working on.
Working on that? Okay, I'm going to try to speak a little louder, and there's like usually a little button down at the bottom, you know, along the little bar. If you hover over it, maybe at the bottom, there's like a little, looks like a little speaker, a little, what's it called? Anybody?
It's a speaker.
A little speaker, yeah, and maybe you can adjust that up and down. Is that all the way up? Adjusted to the
that's
tippy
high
top?
to the bottom.
Okay.
But I can hear you.
Okay. Okay, I'll keep going then. So I also agree with Councilman Feldman about the heaters being a thing that is a good thing. As there gets a little nip in the air, I think also that's a way. You know, ultimately, let's think about what is the purpose of this. The purpose of this is we want people to be safe, continue to be able to have dining experiences in the safest way possible. We want our businesses to stay in business. We don't want to see all of our restaurants closing. We don't want to see our eating establishments closing. We want them to be able to exist as we continue through this difficult period with the pandemic, and theoretically, you know, if something else were to come along similar. I think that, you know, I
Please,
think
God.
draft is very, is great. I think I also would lean towards the 60 days and a year, just because we don't really know what's happening. I don't think that this is, again, time flies when we're not having fun. I think that it's just a very difficult time. And I think, again, there's something that's built right into it that would allow us to revoke it if we need to. And maybe the language is, if, you know, the emergency comes to an end, so that it's very clear that we have the ability to revoke it, not for, you know, for cause, because somebody isn't abiding by the rules or whatever, but for the reason that the emergency comes to an end. And I can't remember if it was written that way. I felt like it was for other reasons. So,
Well, when it was 30 days, I think it was a little bit less of an issue. And because it would have to be renewed, that finding would have to be made every single time. I think it would be kind of hard for the building inspector to be making that determination. And if the board's goal is to be able to make it longer to allow people time to plan, I don't know if you want to then issue a permit and then revoke it 20 days later. I don't know.
Well, again, I think.
I mean, forgetting COVID for a second, in the case of a restaurant having a fire and wanting this permit for, ongoing while they consider rebuilding, and then they haven't rebuilt and they want to keep it outside for a very long time, and there should be some kind of a way to end it, civilly.
Well, they can't. So because it's only for a brief period of time, whether that's 30 days or 45 days or 60 days, then they would have to reapply and make that showing again that they still need it because they can't use their indoor space. So that's kind of why it's short, so that there has to be that continual finding of need.
Okay.
You could also just leave it up to the discretion of the building inspector. Right now, it says for a period not to exceed 30 days. So you can make it for a period not to exceed 60 days, but that gives the building inspector the discretion to say, okay, well, you had a grease fire. Generally, it takes days to clean that up. So I'm giving you this permit, not for 60 days, but for 40 days. And then if you want to extend, you have to come back to me and show you still need it. I don't know.
He's a nice guy. I think 45 days is a nice amount of time. I agree with Jackie on that.
All right, we'll go back to the 45 then.
Back to 45.
I'm okay with that.
But still sticking with the year, correct?
So it's how many 4 45-day permits over the course of a year triggers them needing to go. So basically, if you've had this permit for 6 months out of the year, we want you to go for site plan approval. Is that what we're doing?
That sounds pretty good to me.
I think after they reach that fourth one is when we want them to trigger it, so that they need it before. I mean, I think that maybe we issue them a fifth one while they're before the planning board. Otherwise, what's going to happen, in that?
Well, so here's the thing though, it's not consecutive. Like, that's not the way I'm contemplating this, because what if you get your first permit in August and then maybe you get another one in October and then you don't get another one again until the following May. So you look at the 1 year period from when they got the first permit to see how many they've gotten, to look at how long they've had it over the course. But if you don't do it for 4 months, for 4 permits consecutively, I don't know if that makes a difference.
I mean, I can't imagine that they're not going to go for consecutive permits, It's just especially because, maybe what they could do is, maybe it could be the total number of days versus number of permits. Because, like, for example, what if they say, okay, well, I'm in September now, and I think I'm just going to want to be outside for, 30 more days and not 45 more days. And then I want to take that 15 days and, use it for spring instead of winter or something like that. So maybe instead of number of permits, it should be number of days.
Well, I think the only thing with that, it gets a little complicated.
It's complicated.
With with the permitting process with John. I mean, you could, if you are concerned that, for example, that, we're starting now and it's already August, and theoretically, if things don't clear up completely next spring, you might still be getting some restaurateurs looking to do this again. So you could, instead of just 4 permits, maybe do 5 permits for the year. And that gets you a little bit over the 6-month period. But then after that point, if, they'll
Right.
need to decide whether they're going to make it more permanent or not.
I mean, I think that 5 would be good, because then it gives them, like, at the 4th one, that's when they know that they have to, that's really triggers that they need to go before the planning board. They're expecting it's going to go on anywhere longer. I'd be okay with that. Does anybody else feel like that makes sense?
Makes sense.
I'm good with it.
5:45? Yes? Councilwoman
Yes.
Knight? Okay, yes. Councilwoman Wiltshire, good. Okay. Anything else that anybody else wants to talk about or bring to our attention? Either or? Okay, I think we're good. Also, I think I already said that I like the no flaps on the tents, because I think that it defeats the purpose of being outdoors. When you start enclosing spaces, you're just, what's the point? I guess except for making them bigger. But again,
You're expanding the footprint of the use. Basically.
Right. So, I mean, which we are doing, but I think that makes the most sense. Okay. So with that, I think we're
So,
going to,
I guess just procedurally,
Yes.
just to go over that with the board. So given that the board is relatively comfortable, it appears, with the draft, I'll make the changes that the board recommended, but I think you would probably be in a position, there's a resolution for your consideration on the agenda this evening to call for a public hearing to be held at the next legislative session, which I believe is August 11th. And then we'll hear from the public on this, and then the board can decide where you go from there, if you want to leave it open, continue it, or, close it at that meeting.
fantastic. That's what I was just going to say. And thank you for saying
Sorry.
it, so I don't have to. Okay. Okay, great. So thanks so much. And Valerie, I think you are off the hook right now.
All right. Great.
Have a
Have a
great
good
night.
evening.
Okay, you too.
Good evening.
Bye.
Okay, so next up, we are beginning of COVID-19 pandemic. So we're trying to figure out how we can best assign priority to certain projects. We have about $2.7 million in our general fund balance, or 46% of our budget, which is definitely a healthy fund balance. As you know from our annual audits, we hear often that we're in pretty good shape. I mean, just if you compare to what our school district is allowed to hold, which is 4%, you know that we're in better shape in terms of what we are allowed to hold. And there is good reason for that. As many of you know, we do have to make whole the school district. So even if somebody doesn't pay all their school taxes, and also the county, so if somebody isn't able to pay all of their taxes on time, we still have to come up with the money to pay the school district so that they can continue to function, and the county so that they can continue to function. As we do each July, we just rolled over our unpaid taxes from 2019 as liens. And we do have with us this evening, I just want to say we have our comptroller, Dale Brennan, and our receiver of taxes, Honorable Holly Perlowitz. So thank you so much for joining us this evening, just in case any questions do come up about any of these items that I'm mentioning. Unfortunately, we have multiple liens, including some on large properties, which have to be realized in accounting as a hold on our fund balance to cover these liens until we can collect on them. So they are potential revenue, but until we can actually collect on them, we have to make sure that we have the money in the bank to cover. Whether in foreclosure proceedings or payment, however we might collect with penalties and late fees, again, it's something that is on the books as both a revenue and I guess sort of an expense, or not exactly, but we're trying to figure this out.
Liability.
Liability, thank you. That's the word I was looking for. So even though in real money it's anticipated revenue, we're doing everything legally available to us to collect on these late taxes. We have to carefully review any expenditures out of our general fund balance because we simply do not know exactly when these liens will be paid. So tonight we had planned to discuss 4 projects. 2 are for the senior nutrition program and are grant funded through the CDBG grant, which is federal money that comes through the county, and specifically we are allowed to use for basically for our senior program is the one that falls within the realm of LMI, or low moderate income. Seniors are automatically qualified, so that's something that in a town of Austin that we can apply for. There's also 2 capital projects for our parks department. We had anticipated for all 4 of these projects we would be using fund balance. So, and we didn't actually know until just recently that we had gotten approved for the upgrade to the senior nutrition kitchen. That was something new that we found out about recently. So we're having to review these projects under a microscope and continue to look for some creative solutions or potentially other sources of funding. As we continue to pursue other options, we realize we don't quite have all of our ducks in a row to discuss these projects in full detail. So we're going to continue to review, put our heads together, and hopefully we'll have a more formal presentation prepared for our August 11th meeting. Are there any questions from the board on any of the things that I just mentioned? We do, again, have Ms. Brennan and Ms. Perlowitz on with us if you have any questions about either our liens, which again, we're unhappy to report that we have large properties that have not paid their taxes, and these are commercial ventures, and that puts us into a very bad situation with money that, with taxpayer dollars that we basically have to hold waiting to see what happens with these large properties and when are they going to pay their taxes. And unfortunately, sometimes, I'm not going to say play games, but people, these commercial ventures will wait until the last possible moment to pay the taxes, like right up until foreclosure. So that puts us all in a bad situation. So are there any questions from the board for anybody?
Holly, how much are we missing right now compared to last year?
I'm sorry. So last year versus this year, we added about $817,000 in liens. So the total lien amount was $1,792,000, and that's up $800,000. And the $800,000 is basically coming from 4 different commercial properties. I did send a letter. I can, you can refer to it. I've identified the 4 properties in the letter to you.
If you have any questions, feel free to ask.
Yeah.
I don't think we can hear you. Can you talk?
So we're responsible to make everybody whole and just hold on to this debt.
Exactly. So I mean, Dale can jump in here too, but we're required to make this Ossining and Briarcliff and County whole, and we wait. And experience says that usually, people pay, and it takes about approximately some period of time to get to where they absolutely have to pay. But, penalties continue to accrue. It is unusual, though, to see, one of the properties is, over $500,000 in just from this one, just from 2019. These are all 2019 taxes that haven't been paid. So just from 1 year, one property is over $500,000.
This is pre-COVID dollars. Just
Yeah,
saying.
that's right.
You can't blame it on the pandemic that they didn't pay. 2020. Now, Councilman Feldman, were you asking originally what our shortfall is in total collections? Because we did just pass the July 15th mark, which was when we had extended for any COVID-related late penalties. And I know that we did pretty well. We did see some shortfall in collections. But I don't know.
Very minor. We collected, I'm sorry, I don't have everything right in front of me, but we collected close to what we collected the previous year. So this has nothing to do with 2020 Town and County. This is okay. 2019 Town and County and 2019 school.
Okay. All right. All right. And that's it. The same properties haven't obviously paid 2020 either.
That's correct. They haven't paid 2020 Town and County either.
Okay. And did they pay their school tax?
But the half of the property that I mentioned that's over $500,000, that $500,000 relates to 2019 taxes. I'm not including the 2020 in that.
Right. And so that is okay. Villages and or school districts and or county and or town, correct? All.
It's not village. It's when you say village, it's not the village.
Right,
tax.
but they hadn't paid their village also. You happen to know that they also hadn't paid their village taxes in both villages where these properties reside.
I don't know that for absolute certainty, You know, with,
For right.
relative to the village of Briarcliff, I don't know.
Got it. Okay. I think I've heard though.
Okay.
Anecdotally.
Okay.
I believe that that's the case.
Okay.
Okay. So any other questions about this? Just, you know, top line, the projects that we're talking about that we've been talking about for some time are the bus for the senior nutrition program, the rehab of the kitchen at the you know, in there at the rec center, and then the other two projects are the paving at Gerlach, which was actually greatly reduced from what we had originally planned in the capital plan, and Scarifier to take care of our ball fields. So we'll have more information for you on all of those, and we're again looking for some kind of creative solutions to come up with ways to either greatly reduce the costs out of pocket or possibly wait to take care of some of these items until we see if we can get some of these liens paid. Taxes paid. Okay, so we'll have more to talk about on the 11th. All right, so with that, if there aren't any other questions from the board, I would ask for a motion to adjourn into our regular meeting.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Want to raise your hand if you're muted, Councilman Wiltshire and Meyer, because I haven't heard you. Is that an aye from you too? Okay.
Aye.
Aye. Councilman Wiltshire, can you just raise your hand if it's an aye?
Aye.
Okay, good. So no, you can give a thumbs down. Thank you. Okay, so might we please have our roll call? Do we have Martha with us? We do. Hi, Martha.
Okay. Let's see. Councilmember Feldman,
Present.
Councilmember Shaw,
Present.
Councilmember Meyer,
Present.
and Councilmember Wiltshire.
Present.
Moving on to announcement. Oh, and
And I'm here too.
Sorry, Supervisor Levenberg.
No problem. Thank you. Okay, so yes, moving into our announcements. This Friday, we are going to wrap up our July with our 5th virtual summer concert. These concerts moved online this year to help people avoid crowds and slow the spread of the coronavirus. This week, we are welcoming Sky Factor, an acoustic-based rock/pop group. The concert will start streaming on Facebook on the Town of Austin Facebook page at 7 p.m. And big shout out to Miriam and Mike at Mike Risco Music for helping us line up some great performers and emceeing the festivities each Friday night. Sometimes a little help from me. Please remember to order dinner from one of our fabulous local restaurants and request a 6:30 or 6:45 pickup time so you can be back in time to curl up on your couch for an evening of great food and great music. I mean, I don't like to eat on my couch, so you can do it wherever you want. Okay. There may be a few other concerts or events coming our way for August and September. This has been going pretty well, so stay tuned for more information about that. Last week, Governor Cuomo expanded the number of states under a travel advisory. These states have been added because the average number of positive cases surpassed 10% of the state's tested population of 10 per every 100,000 residents. The travel advisory requires that anyone returning from one of these states must quarantine for 14 days. This step is crucial to keeping case numbers down in our state. We are seeing case numbers rise across the country, and New York has already seen clusters caused by people traveling to other states. Luckily, they have been somewhat limited, so let's make sure that we keep it that way. Please try to limit your trips out of state to essential travel only. Please review the travel advisory before and after travel. Violating the mandatory quarantine can lead to fines up to $10,000 or imprisonment up to 15 days, and I don't think any of us want to see that. More people are getting comfortable leaving their homes and reconnecting with family and friends. As a reminder, masks should be worn outside, and since you're not supposed to touch your mask, it shouldn't be coming on and off. Keep your mask on until you get home or to your car. Doing this will also decrease the number of lost masks we are finding on sidewalks and streets, and there's quite a few of those. You can't lose your mask if you're wearing it. The increase in people out and about also means New York's robust contact tracing program is up and running. These people are trained to inform you if you've been exposed to the virus. They can connect you with medical professionals and other important resources like senior care, groceries, and testing. Recently, we've heard reports from other municipalities of scammers requesting people add tracking software to the computers and threatening fines for noncompliance. Official contact tracers will only ever call you from the New York State NYS contact tracing caller ID. They are there to guide you through the quarantine process, and they will never ask for any financial information or direct access to your computer or phone. Our town and village has been open to the public now for a couple of weeks at our town village hall, at least, with limited office hours. If you must come in person, we are open Monday through Friday, 9 to 2:30. There are lots of things that you can take care of online right now, so try that first. Our court has recently opened as well to the public. As of today, their walk-up window is open Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday from 9:30 to 11:30 a.m., Thursday and Friday from 12 noon to 2 p.m. So if you have been very anxious to pay your parking or vehicle and traffic tickets or conduct other business in person with our town court, you may now do so. We hope to have an announcement soon to the opening up of John Paul Rodriguez Operations Center to the public. So please be patient with us, and we appreciate your patience to date as we continue to figure out the safest ways to allow access to our buildings. So far, it seems to be going pretty smoothly. Additionally, there are now limited recreation opportunities available, including such favorites as the pool at the recreation center and pickleball. Our spray pad has been operating for a few weeks now, also with limited access. Please leave plenty of time if you do take your kids there. Last week, we committed additional staff to help keep our parks clean. We added trash cans at Engle Park and are encouraging and continuing to encourage a carry-in, carry-out policy for garbage. So that means if you create garbage or bring in food and paper and waste, just put it in a bag and take it home and throw it out. That way we don't see garbage cans exploding, and we have lots of very hungry crows down there and seagulls that like to take all that stuff out and strew it all over. So we really like to avoid that. And if we have the overflowing garbage cans, that's what happens. If we don't, then that doesn't happen. Hopefully the additional receptacles out there are also helpful. The parks have had an increase in foot traffic since March. And as mentioned, we're continuing to take extra steps to keep up with safety, refuse, and general maintenance. You may have seen our Austin Police Chief, Kevin Sylvester, talk about some of these extra steps in a recent Facebook Live post, or even Councilwoman Feldman doing the same about safely enjoying the water in our parks, which includes no swimming since it's not allowed. We're so excited that people are taking advantage of our beautiful parks to escape the heat and add some fun to their summer. As a reminder, grills can only be used in designated grilling areas, and gatherings of more than 20 people require a permit at the Lewis Engle Park picnic areas. Our bathrooms, brand newly renovated, are open at Engle and Ryder and Gerlach. The dog park at Cedar Lane is open, and all dogs need to be registered with the clerk's office, and they need to have their licenses. If you have a license for your dog, you can use the dog park. If you're coming from another town, you might have to pay a small fee, and we still let you into the dog park. We still ask you to wear masks when you're there. Just because you're outside, there's a very good chance you're not going to be able to social distance from every dog. So please remember to wear your mask. Lastly, while we know the heat has been excessive, we reiterate we have no lifeguards on duty at the waterfront. And for that and other safety reasons, no swimming is allowed. We want to extend a quick shout out to Gail Marchica of the Greater Austin Chamber of Commerce. And I think we have Johnny G on here too. So thank you, Johnny G, I'm not sure if you were involved at all. And also our Superintendent of Highways, Pete Connolly. And I think we even had some help from our local Master Gardener, Donna Sharrett, for helping set up some lovely flower boxes on North State Road. As businesses adapt to health guidelines, we are happy to see some wonderful outdoor dining options on North State Road, as we discussed a little bit earlier. We also recently added a bike lane, and there has been some talk about bike safety. We know more and more people are cycling right now, and having bike lanes is proven to make it safer for cyclists. So slow down. We also slowed down the speed limit on North State Road. So slow down and enjoy the flowers as you drive by. Flowers and flags were paid for by a special purpose fund that's been on the books in the town for some time, specifically for beautification for flowers, and was organized by the Greater Austin Chamber of Commerce. So thanks again to Pete and Gail Marchica for helping us make this area accessible and beautiful and maintained for to help our businesses. The Austin Food Pantry is looking for volunteers to help pack bags for food distribution. This is a great opportunity for middle school, high school, or college-age students who are looking to hang out with friends in a safe way. The Food Pantry serves Austin and Briarcliff residents and has seen the demand for their services increase dramatically since March. However, many of their volunteers were considered high risk for contracting the virus and could not help at the same levels as before. Volunteers are urgently needed to unload the food trucks Fridays 9 to 11:30 in the morning, pack food into bags Monday from 2 to 4 p.m., and deliver bags from the pantry to distribution points on Tuesdays from 2 to 4 p.m. Please email osfoodpan@gmail.com if you're interested in volunteering. Other food distribution opportunities continue to be available. Many of them are because of the help that we get from the food pantry. Please see my weekly supervisor's update for the flyer, as well as the COVID page on our town website, to make sure you know where you can find food if you are in need or know anyone else who is as well. Many people kicked their spring cleaning skills up a notch this year, but have bags of clothes waiting for donation centers to reopen. The Tri-State Mask Making Group has put out a call for graduation and choir gowns, which are used to combat PPE shortages. Gowns can be dropped off at 119 Edgewood Road in Ossining, town of Newcastle. I know many of you will be happy to have one less of those in your closet, so please consider donating gowns or robes. Lastly, I need to direct your attention to the census, of course. At this point, I believe that anyone who hasn't filled out the census probably has some questions or concerns about doing so. The census is a nationwide count of all residents so that money and representatives can be fairly allocated. It is bound under Title 13 of the U.S. Code, making it illegal to release any identifiable information about addresses, individuals, households, or businesses, even to law enforcement agencies, including the FBI, CIA, DHS, or ICE. The census is completed every 10 years to help the U.S. gauge the need for services in each area. Ultimately, results impact how billions of dollars are distributed. Right now, about 35% of Ossining is uncounted. It takes only 10 minutes to complete the census, and you can fill it out in one of 60 languages. You can also complete the census in your preferred language over the phone. Please reach out to your friends, family, and neighbors to ask them to complete the census. Ossining loses $2,500 a year for each uncounted resident. And I think that is it for me. Do my board colleagues have any other announcements?
I see that OVAC is having another blood drive in August. I'm trying to find the date.
Good news, because I missed the last one because I didn't sign up in time.
Right, I know it's limited to a certain number of people, but the date is Thursday, August 20th at 3 p.m. And you can sign up. How can you sign up?
And that is critical. You have to sign up. You can't just show up.
Right. So if you would like to donate, go to newyorkbloodcenter.org, nybc.org, or nybloodcenter.org, and search for us by location or Ossining Volunteer Ambulance Corps. Once you set up an account, you can schedule your donation time. If you have any questions, feel free to message OVAC. So again, August 20th, 2020, 3 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. At the headquarters on Clinton Avenue. And you can go to nybc.org to sign up and look for Ossining Volunteer Ambulance Corps.
Okay. That is awesome. Okay, anything else? we're going to launch right into liaison reports after this. And hearing none, we're going to go to public comment on agenda items. If you would like to make a comment, I think we have 4 minutes for you to do so on agenda items. If you would just raise your virtual hand, if you can do that. If you have any comment on any of the agenda items that are on our published agenda for our town board meeting. I'm looking, and I'm going to give a couple seconds. I know that we have a couple of people from the public who joined us this evening. If you have any comment on any of the public comment on agenda items. Okay. If you can't raise your hand, but you want to do a reaction, if you see the reactions, if you can't figure out how to raise your hand and want to put a thumb up, if you want to speak, I'm going to give you one more chance. Okay, don't all put your thumbs up at once. Okay, so I think I gave enough chances. With that, let's move into our board resolutions, and our Deputy Town Clerk, Martha Quidisaka, take us through our board resolutions, please.
Okay, so approval of minutes, regular meeting July 14th, 2020. Resolved that the town board of the town of Austin hereby approves the July 14th, 2020 minutes of the regular meeting as presented.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
No. Sorry.
No.
Northern wasn't at the last 2 meetings.
Oh, the last two. I just thought he wasn't at the 21st. Okay, he wasn't at the 14th either. Sorry about that. Forgive me. Okay, so that's okay. We have a motion, a second, and now all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Abstention? Councilman Wiltshire, you're abstaining?
Yes,
Okay.
I can't vote, I may as well.
You actually can vote. I don't think you have to abstain.
That's all right.
That's just what I've learned over my years. Okay. Next up.
Approval of minutes. Special meeting, July 21st, 2020. Resolved that the town board of the town of Austin hereby approves the July 21st, 2020 minutes of the special meeting as presented.
Okay. Do I have a motion?
So
So
moved.
moved.
Second.
Okay. And again, Councilman Wiltshire, I think you were not at this meeting. So all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Anybody opposed? Abstentions?
I think we might have lost Councilman Wiltshire.
We might have, right? I see his voice though is still there. Part of him is still there.
Yeah, I don't know what happened. I think we also have an image of his floor, but I'm not.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe he had two different things going for audio purposes. Councilman Wiltshire, can you hear us?
I can't unmute.
You can't unmute that? Oh, there you did. You just did.
Okay.
Councilman Wiltshire, can you hear us?
Yes.
Okay. And
But
so
I
did you abstain on that last one?
abstain.
Okay. All right. We lost your image somehow. Okay, next up, resolution C, please.
Approval of voucher detail report. Resolved that the town board of the town of Austin hereby approves the voucher detail report dated July 28th, 2020 in the amount of $447,638.83.
Do you have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? I just
No,
want
like
to
in the
mention,
format.
this is a large, larger than the last few voucher detail, and that's partially because the last one was very small after actually 3 weeks, and also because as we moved to the new system, admins, we've had a little, a couple of hiccups in learning and getting used to the new system, including Councilwoman Feldman, who doesn't like it. But in any case, we are now just we're just kind of catching up making up for some lost time. I think we had actually a pretty small one last time. So if not that last time, the one before.
Yes, we also had 2 months of our health insurance expenses. Night Shift was switching over to an online billing system. That took a little bit of time to get going. So we have both July and August in this run, which on its own amounts to about $200,000. So
Just
that
about half. Yeah. Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed? Thank you.
Contract senior nutrition program. Resolved that the town board of the town of Austining authorizes the supervisor to sign a contract with the Westchester County Department of Senior Programs and Services for the purpose of receiving grant funds not to exceed $6,669 for unmet need funds for overserved meals and associated nutrition program expenses for program year 2019 through 2020.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
So more good financial news that we were not expecting, which is nice. We've been getting a couple of these little extra boosts from through the county for our senior nutrition program. And here's some more grant funding. This particular grant is specifically to help fund the additional meals served this year and other associated expenses. And I think also with transportation, because we've had to actually deliver many more meals than we had to in the past. So thanks to our site director, Kathy Asaro, for administering these grants and helping us get this additional funds. Discussion, questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed? Just a word that we are grateful to our seniors for sticking with us and to all of those who are administering our senior program for staying in touch and making sure that our seniors are getting their needs met.
Contract CGI Communications. Resolved that the town board of the town of Austining authorizes the supervisor to sign an agreement with CGI Communications, Rochester, New York, to participate in the 2020 Community Banner Program with the option to renew for up to 3 years at no cost to the town.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
So recently, Victoria Caffarelli and I participated in a call with CGI Communications to learn more about their community banner program. We have worked with CGI in the past, actually for quite a few years, through the films that they produced highlighting Austining. This new to us program is very exciting. With the support of local sponsors, CGI will provide the town with banners for the street lights to support local businesses. These banners and to support all of the various things that we have happening around Austining. These banners are replaced each year, and there are opportunities to engage local artists or have a contest or come up with a unique design. I don't know if any of you have ever seen any of these banners in other communities. I have, and they look great. The best part, it's free to the town. I look forward to signing this contract if everybody is in agreement, while also working with our partners in the Village of Austining and Briarcliff to see if they are interested in hopping on with us. It is really a nice beautification project at no cost to the town. They take care of all of the hardware, all of the sign production. They reach out to the businesses directly. We basically just present them with a letter that says that this is something that the town supports and encourages and is going to allow. Any questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Anybody opposed?
Contract comprehensive plan consultant. Resolved that the town board of the town of Austining authorizes the supervisor to sign an agreement with Claire Wilder Architects LLP doing business as WXY Architecture Plus Design, New York, New York, for consulting services related to the town's comprehensive plan with sustainability elements in an amount not to exceed $75,000. And be it further resolved that a portion of the cost for consulting services will be paid for by a grant from the Climate Smart Community Grant Program, Title 15 of the Environmental Protection Fund through the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation under contract number C00774, project title Town of Austining Climate Smart Community Certification.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
So we are very excited tonight to be approving the contract for WXY Architecture and Design to serve as our comprehensive plan consultants. The comprehensive plan steering committee interviewed WXY last month or so ago, and they were so impressed with their innovative approaches to planning and design. We look forward to continuing the momentum on this project with a cutting edge yet firm on board yet within our budget. We did reduce the overall outlay that we had originally planned for this project based on the situation that we found ourselves in, and believe that we are leveraging the $75,000 to gain about, I want to say $280,000 in overall benefit to the town through the comprehensive plan with the grant funds and the in-kind donations that are going to go to it. So I thank the comprehensive plan steering committee for their thoughtful interview questions and the process, and also to our council and our planner and all the others who had took a very close look at the contract to make sure that the town would be protected. Any questions? Any Councilwoman Shaw, did you want to add anything?
I'm really excited for them to get started. I was on the interview committee with you, and I thought they were great. So I'm really excited to get going on this.
Awesome. Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed? I think we lost Councilman Wiltshire. Oh, you're still there. Oh, I see you. I see you. Yeah. I missed that you had turned from a colorful floor to a name. Okay.
Yeah, that's the name now.
Okay, gotcha. Thank you. All right, fantastic.
Personnel salary changes. Resolved that the town board of the town of Austin hereby approves the following salary increases for the following part-time employees effective July 28, 2020. Richard Fernandez, Franklin Jackson Jr., Sheila Lilly, Alicia Santucci, and John Simpkins.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
So as the court begins to open up, the role of the court attendant has certainly grown and changed. They are at greater risk during the COVID pandemic and are essential to our court operations. As such, we felt it was important to recognize this added work through a pay raise. Similarly, Alicia Santucci, who works part-time in our highway and cemetery departments, has taken on additional responsibilities following some personnel changes. She's continuing to work part-time. We are lucky to have these dedicated people on Team Town, and we're happy to recognize good work. Are there any questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Anybody opposed? Okay, thank you.
Personnel appointment. Resolved that the town board of the town of Austining appoints Anthony Green Austining to the part-time availability position of park attendant at an hourly rate of $13 effective August 1st, 2020.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
So as we all know, our parks have been used more and more over the past few months as people look for time to enjoy the great outdoors after a few too many days trapped inside. We also had our part-time park attendant who has worked for the town for many, many years resign this season. Anthony is a ray of positive sunshine, and we know he will do an excellent job keeping our parks in tip-top shape on the weekends for park rentals. We are hoping to welcome him following the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Anybody opposed? Welcome, Anthony. We look forward to you helping us keep up with our parks and our pavilions.
Okay. Call for public hearing, local law, temporary outdoor dining permit. Resolved that the town board of the town of Austining hereby calls for a public hearing in the matter of a local law known and cited as temporary outdoor dining permit to be held 7:30 p.m. on Tuesday, August 11th, 2020, and be it further resolved that pursuant to the Governor's Executive Order 202.1 dated March 12, 2020, the public hearing will be held via video conferencing only.
Do I have a motion?
So moved. Second.
Any further discussion? All right, so as discussed earlier, this resolution sets a public hearing on the local law to establish temporary outdoor dining permits for restaurants in the unincorporated town. We hope this will be a good solution to help our local businesses during this difficult time.
Can I make one other comment that I forgot to make during the work session?
Of course.
So the way this was drafted as currently, and it's kind of nuanced and isn't even really substantive, but it adds a new chapter 136 to the town code entitled outdoor permit, temporary. So what it does is, and then there's a new article that's fully includes eating and drinking establishments and eating and drinking establishments. So if in the future additional types of uses or additional types of businesses or whatever present themselves as being appropriate for such a temporary type permit for outdoor use, the board could use this chapter of the code to amend further to possibly allow for permits for other types of use.
You mean like exercise studios or whatever?
Yes.
Okay.
All right, fantastic. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed? Okay. So we're going to move on to correspondence to be received and filed. There is none. And monthly reports.
Resolved that the town board of the town of Austin hereby accepts the following monthly report for the month of June 2020. Town supervisor?
Okay, do I have a motion?
So moved.
So moved. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? All right. And with that, we go to visitor recognition. Once again, either please raise your virtual hand or even just indicate with a thumbs up if you want to on the reactions that you would like to speak, and we will open up, take you off of mute and recognize you. More seconds. All righty. And with that, hearing no further comments, I would ask for a motion to adjourn into executive session for personnel, advice of counsel, and contracts.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed? Victoria Cafarelli, would you mind just staying on for a few seconds after this meeting before you leave for the executive session? Because I can't get into my emails to get the link to the executive session in Zoom. So just hang out with me for a minute so I can write it down. So thank you, everybody. As a reminder, we have an abbreviated schedule this summer in terms of our town board meetings. In June, we dialed back our summer schedule a bit. We canceled our work session nights in July and August and added work session discussions, as you know, because we did that tonight, to our regular meetings. So we put them all in one, so we have a little bit more time in between. We will see you back via Zoom on August 11th. I did want to just mention that we have heard that our partners, our colleagues in village government, are looking into the possibilities of, if in fact the governor does not extend the executive order on public meetings, what our options might be to have space at the community center and Zoom rooms. So we're going to keep you apprised of that as we move forward. But right now we are still planning for a Zoom session, and I don't know if this is relevant. Oh, thanks. So hopefully we will see you back on Zoom on August 11th for another combo regular meeting and work session. So until that time, we hope you have a great couple of weeks. Try to stay cool. I do want to mention that the recreation center is does have a cooling center open, so you should call 941-3189. Is that the right number?
That sounds
941-3189 is our recreation department to find out what their hours are if you do need a place to cool off or power up or whatever you need to do to get out of the heat and stay. All right. Thank you everyone very much, and have a great couple weeks. We'll see you soon. Okay, so I think